All right. Welcome in. Musso at the box. That was not without a lot of stress. But the Tigers played two great games, dispatch of Wofford 13-6 and comeback fashion, jump out to a huge lead behind a great effort from Thatcher Herd in the nightcap against North Carolina, and then hold on for dear life to force game number 7, and LSU is 27 outs away from coming all the way back through the losers bracket and winning the Chapel Hill Regional and hosting a super regional at Alex Box Stadium. Now, they have a long way to go before they get there, and we have a lot to talk about, but hot damn, y'all, that was two great wins for that baseball team. They beat a really game Wofford squad, and we're going to talk about that, and they beat a really game North Carolina team. You saw that, obviously, on Saturday. That is two huge wins for that club. I mean, huge wins for that club, and I'm fired up to talk all about it here. We might go a little long today, but man, that's worth it. Oh my God, we have a Tommy White burner account now. Is the Christian Little burner account injured? Is that why? So we have the Tommy White burner account. Y'all smash the like button, get subscribed, share on your favorite podcast app, on the YouTube channel, all those things, and let's dive right into it. We're going to go through both games, but we're going to Sambo. We're going to start in reverse order. We're going to start with the nightcaps. Let's start with the win over North Carolina. 8-4 your final. Thatcher Herd. That is the only place you start in this ball game. And Thatcher Herd hopped into the DeLorean with Doc Brown and friggin' found his way back to June 2023. He was awesome. And I will tell you, just before we kind of get into the outing, what made the difference for me, for Thatcher Herd, in that ball game and that outing was this. The glove side fastball combined with that slider / cutter, the much harder version of his slider that he throws. It's like 88 to 90. The way he was able to have the glove side command of his fastball, particularly low in the zone. And now the zone was... The strike zone of the nightcap was friggin' abhorrent, but it was that for both sides. It was very large, and then it shrunk later in the game, which was crap. But for Thatcher Herd early, that low fastball, glove side, he had great command of it, and he was able to throw that hard cutter slider off of it, and that made all the difference in the world for me in his outing. And I think it is one of the reasons he was able to be so successful in the ball game. So look, he goes out there, 3 up, 3 down. I mean, just flat out mows through North Carolina in the first. Not one 3-ball count. Finished off, had 2 strikeouts on 3 pitches. He was nails. And besides the fastball command glove side with the slider, the other thing I thought that was so big, and I tweeted this out going to the bottom half of the first, that LSU needed to jump on Aiden Houtt right there. Jump on him, get runs, and allow Thatcher Herd to pitch with a lead. Give him a cushion, allow him to pitch with a lead and pitch with confidence. And damn it, that's exactly what LSU did. After 2 quick outs, Jared Jones, like he's done all weekend, has an incredibly patient at bat, draws a walk, and gets on base. And then Josh Pearson, who was fantastic in that early game against Wofford, picks up right where he leaves off. First pitch, 2-run homer, no doubter to right center field, and LSU's up 2-0, and that really allowed Herd to settle in. He goes right back out there, friggin' 3 up, 3 down, nails once again, just awesome. From Thatcher Herd. And here's the thing. You can look at Herd's outing from so many different ways. He goes deep and gets you into the 6th inning. That was great. Strikes out 6. That was great. The biggest, without question, number to look at for Thatcher Herd in that ball game is in the walk column. And it's a circular number. It is a 0. That was huge. When Thatcher Herd has had problems this year, which has been plentiful, it has been because of free passes. That's why. When he's in the zone, he's great. The stuff the stuff plays. It's elite stuff when Thatcher Herd is in the zone, and he was tonight, and you saw it. And all the while, LSU just kept constant pressure up on North Carolina in that ball game. And that was huge, too, from the Tigers. So, I mean, even in the second, Neal comes out, single, boom, pressure, automatically, extends the inning another batter. You give Hurd a rest. He goes back out there in the third. He's dominant again. I mean, he's retired the first 9 he faced, just in order. And you go to the bottom of the third, and LSU's able to score again. Tommy White, once again, got robbed by Gavin Gallagher at third base. Don't think Gavin Gallagher is going to be on Tommy White's Christmas card list. Tommy White burner, you're in here. Is Gavin Gallagher going to be on your Christmas card list? Drop it in the chat. Let me know. But Milam, singles. Then Bear, another walk. Braswell with a clutch 2-out single to score another run. Huge. I mean, just absolutely massive there, and you get up 3-0. The fourth inning was so pivotal in this ball game. It was the second trip through the lineup for Thatcher Herd. And that's another thing we tweeted out and talked about in the evening. Says, okay, here comes the second trip. This is the true test. He was great in that first. Sorry, Tommy White burner account broke my concentration. We're not going to read that comment out loud, but it was really funny. Second trip through the lineup for Thatcher Herd. That was going to be a real that was going to be a real test. He gets Honeycutt to strike out. Second time, that was huge. Gets the first two, no problem. And then Parks Harbor comes up, doubles. He's late on the fastball, but he sneaks it right in. Down the inside the first base bag, and it goes for the double. And then D'Onofrio singles, and that drives him in. And those two guys were really a problem for LSU tonight. Parks Harbor and Anthony D'Onofrio, Tony D'Onofrio, they were big problems for LSU all night, and especially Thatcher Herd, and it started really in that fourth inning. But after another single by Osuna, huge strikeout looking from Thatcher Herd to get out of that inning and to strand the threat. And then LSU responded. And that's what was so massive about that for a lot of reasons. Number one, go back to what we talked about with the second. You gave Thatcher Herd a cushion. You allowed him to pitch with a lead and pitch with confidence. His confidence got shaken for the first time in that fourth inning, second trip through. And you needed to, one, give him a break, and they did that by putting together the best inning all night. Single from Travinski, walk from Brown when he's trying to bunt. The single from Travinski chases Howe, and then you go to Percival, who we talked about in the preview, is their lefty specialist, right? So he comes in, you got Brown, Larson due up. They're trying to bunt with Brown. It clearly throws Percival off. He walks Brown. They pinch hit Napolt, and a lot of people want to know why. They were going to bunt, and I think they just trust Ben Napolt as a better bunter than Ashton Larson. Napolt, same deal. Squares to bunt, ends up getting walked by Percival. That chases him. You get Bovair in. He comes in, bases loaded, nobody out, Tommy White. That is an incredibly tough position for any pitcher to come into. Tommy White singles through the right side. You start the merry-go-round station to station, 1 run. Milam, single, 2 runs. Jared Jones falls behind 0-2, draws his third walk of the game. That was such a great at-bat, and here's why. It loaded the bases back up, so when Pearson grounds into the double play, you still get a run and make it a 7-1 ball game. If Jared Jones doesn't reach base, that ground out ends the inning. But because if he's out, that's 2 outs, and the ground out ends the inning, you don't get that extra run. So that was huge, and it, like we said, it gave Hurd time to rest after finally laboring a little bit in the fourth, and it expanded the lead and expanded the cushion. LSU would add another run in the 5th inning. That was the Hayden Travinski moonshot, and Hurd, another strong bounce back in the top half, 0. Huge. LSU's up 8-1 after 5. You're feeling good. But with this team, you knew you'd have to hang on for dear life. and ultimately you did. They were able to chase Hurd in the 6th inning. Fidel Ulloa comes in, bases loaded after Lure fails to get a lefty-lefty matchup, and he falls behind 2-0 to Gallagher. Bases loaded against Gallagher. LSU's in this spot a lot tonight. And for what it's worth, you look at that 6th inning, it was once again Parks Harbor and Anthony D'Onofrio getting things started, which sucks. Those kids were just a thorn in your side. But just a massive, massive pitch from Fidel Ulloa to get out of that inning, strike Gallagher out swinging, 96-mile-per-hour fastball down in the zone. That's something LSU did really, really well tonight, the fastball down in the zone. Unfortunately, LSU couldn't capitalize on a mini threat they had in the 6th. They would not score the rest of the way. Really credit Padgett. Padgett came in and saved North Carolina's bullpen tonight. I don't think Carolina was going to go to any of their top arms, which is going to make tomorrow, or I should say Monday, very interesting. But credit Padgett is explicitly there the rest of the way. He held LSU down, got himself into a little trouble, but held LSU down. That's a kid who came in with an opponent's batting average of 315. Like, he had well more hits than innings pitched given up, and he pitched really well and saved North Carolina. The 7th inning, you got to see Cade Anderson come in and relieve Fidel Ulloa, and while you give up a couple runs, ultimately Anderson gets the out that you need to escape, and then in the 8th, he was really good. You saw today, you saw Cade Anderson develop before your very eyes. But that is what you saw. He was nails against Wofford, 3 up, 3 down, struck out the side. He was really good against North Carolina, I thought, in the nightcap. And that's a big step up in competition for him. And what you've seen from Cade Anderson really this year has been doing very, very well in the midweek and struggling on the weekend against the SEC. You didn't see that today. You saw him do well against Wofford in what would quote-unquote midweek style, right? And then you saw him be equally, I don't want to say equally as good, but just... you saw him be very good again at night. 6 strikeouts between the 2 outings for Cade Anderson. That was huge. You go to Gavin Guidry, ultimately in the 8th, with runners at first and second, and Vance Honeycutt up. And the first pitch, he hangs a slider, and Honeycutt just mashes it foul. And that changed everything. They started pitching backwards with Gavin Guidry, and I think, honestly, that's one reason it took him so long to finish the game off. He's not used to leaning on fastball that much, and they just kept pitching backwards with him and he kept falling behind in the counts. But, so he goes, first pitch slider to Honeycutt, foul ball, home run, fastball, 5 straight fastballs, you're in a full count, and then drops the hook in on him, freezes him, and gets you out of that inning. And then in the 9th, I mean, we saw it, y'all. They load the bases up. Gavin Gallagher again at the plate, and he flies out to left field. But that's the one thing I look at from Guidry's outing that I maybe didn't like is how much they pitched backwards. But that was a huge, huge win for LSU. We're going to get to tomorrow here momentarily. I do want to say a few things about the Wofford game first. But LSU tonight offensively is where I want to go, because the first 2 games of this regional, they weren't good enough. And we talked about that here after game number 2. They weren't good enough. We talked about it after game number 1. They just weren't good enough. And that was the thing, looking at them, that we said, okay, yes, this is sustainable because the offense is finally coming together. And then it went into a shell. It broke out of that shell today. 21 runs for LSU. They had 20-plus hits in game 1, 11 hits in game number 2. LSU, with runners in scoring position, hit 300 against North Carolina. With runners on third and less than 2 outs, 667. That's fantastic. The leadoff man hit 375 for LSU, and they were 10 of 19 in advancement opportunities in that night game against Carolina. They were awesome. They picked up right where they left off, and they were great. It was fantastic to see. And you saw the long ball, and that's the big thing between both games. You saw LSU manufacture runs, and you saw them play station-to-station baseball. You hit 3 home runs between those 2 games when you scored 21 runs. Pearson had 2 of them, and Hayden Travinski had the other. And in that as well, you had a whopping 3 hits from Tommy White. That's how much you were getting from everybody else. Think about the offense for the majority of this season. It was so much on Tommy White and Jared Jones. So to see them go through that today, that was great. Griffin Herring. Let's talk about the Wofford game. I see all those questions coming in about tomorrow. Who's the home team? Pitching. We're going to get to all that, so stick with me. Y'all smash the like button if you haven't already. Get subscribed. We're having a great time here tonight. This is a way more fun show to do than last night was for a lot of different reasons. But this is a blast at the current moment, and we're going to enjoy this because who knows what tomorrow is going to bring. So, a few things on Wofford. And look, we sat here after the game, after the first game against North Carolina, and said, you know what? LSU, you've burned Jump Holman. You've really struggled in the 3rd game of a weekend, and that's what you were heading into at 11 a.m. against a really pesky, unorthodox team in Wofford. And I was not just going to sit here and concede that game. Like LSU was just going to go out there and win. And I'll be damned, you know, LSU goes quiet because you were going to face Camden Wicker, who was their number 2, right? And he looked awesome in that first inning. I mean, just set LSU down, 3 up, 3 down. Wofford gets the 5 spot. Nate Ackenhausen threw 27 pitches, just didn't have his stuff. But you put Griffin Herring in there. He gets the last out of that first inning, and then he took the game over. It was, you know, I want to say shades of his Omaha performance last year, but it was really just what you've seen from Griffin Herring all year long. He was freaking awesome. And all the while, it allowed LSU to chip away and make their comeback. I mean, they're down 5-0 when they head to the 2nd inning. That's when you get, you know, Pearson starts with a double and you put up 2 there. 0-0 from Herring. In the 4th, you're able to add another run. He gives up the 1 earned run there in the 4th, but then LSU in the 5th, that's when they really started to separate. That's when you had the Pearson 2-run homer with 2 outs. That's when you had a single, a walk, and then Brady Neal, who they inserted in, single, and LSU that started 8 unanswered runs for LSU. Excuse me, 11. That started 10 unanswered runs. 10 unanswered runs from LSU from the 5th through the 9th inning. Wofford flat ran out of pitching. LSU was awesome. The thing that you love about Griffin Herring is the freaking stones on that kid. That's it. Like, there's no other way to really put it. There's a more graphic way I could put it, but you just love the stones on that guy to just freaking pull up the bootstraps, put the team on his back. When Jay Johnson's ready to take him out, to sit there and tell the coach, no. I got one more in me. The team needs me. We're going to go out there. We're going to shove. That's what Griffin Herring's saying here, and he freaking does it. Throws a career-high 89 pitches, career-high 6 1/3, punches out 7, didn't walk anybody. He was freaking awesome. And when you're trying to come back through the loser's bracket, you need guys like that who have those stones to say, you ain't taking me out. This is my game, and I'm going to come out after I go throw this one more inning. I'm going to save the bullpen a little bit, and he did that. Griffin Herring saved your bullpen, and the LSU offense saved your bullpen. And that's when you had the outing from Cade Anderson, and then Will Helmers was nails at the end of the game, too. Brady Neal, you don't win that game against Wofford without Brady Neal. That was a great move. We came here after the game against the first game against North Carolina, and criticized Jay Johnson's managing of the game, and rightfully so, it wasn't great. Today, he was fantastic throughout. And that decision with Brady Neal is one reason why. I'll give you another one. In the nightcap, to put Brady Neal back in there, that was a no-brainer. But to keep Travinski in after he had been struggling, that's a great coach's hunch. That's a great coach's move, and it paid off. Travinski had the 2 hits and the homer. But you don't win the game against Wofford without Brady Neal. He drove in the tying run, and he kept pressure on throughout. 3 RBI on a 2-for-3 day. Josh Pearson, same thing. You don't win without him in that ball game. He was awesome. Josh Pearson, 3 for 4, 4 RBI in the first game. Great. The freshman in that first game, awesome. 6 hits combined between Milam, Brown, and Larson, and you end up with 3 driven in from them as well. It was just such a complete performance. But without Griffin Herring, Brady Neal, and Josh Pearson, you aren't even in that night game. And those guys deserve all the bouquets for what they did in that first game. They were absolutely awesome. And it's the offensive performance that you needed as well, because you are getting thin, on the pitching staff, and you still are. And that's going to be a big key for Monday's game. LSU has got to keep the offensive pressure up against North Carolina when you get there into Game 7 Monday night. All right, let's move forward now to Monday night. And this is going to be really interesting. Let me get North Carolina's stuff up too, because we want to see who they're going to potentially have. We'll start with this. Game time, not announced yet. They have to wait for all these regional finals to finish. So you'll probably wake up and know the game time, or if you stay up really late and those West Coast games start to get decided, then you'll start to see those released. But I mean, it could be any time. They could play day, night, whatever. I will say this has the opportunity to be the biggest marquee of them. So you might see them want to put this at 5. Okay, Honkus says Koki tweeted at 5 p.m. That is earlier than they normally announce. Okay, so that's great. So LSU, that's 5 p.m. Central, I'm assuming. Yes? Okay, perfect. Well, then there we go. Forget that. That is way earlier than they normally announce that. But that's great news. That is great news. So LSU will play at 5 tomorrow. LSU will be the home team tomorrow. That is a terrible rule. It's a terrible rule when LSU hosts. It is a terrible rule when North Carolina hosts. It's a terrible rule when anyone hosts. If you are a national host, you should be the home team in your ballpark every time. Gulf South, 5 p.m. Central, every time. That is an awful rule, and they need to get rid of it. How it's decided, if you don't know and you're curious, LSU is already going to be the home team tonight because the first time they played North Carolina, they were the away team. The next time is decided by coin flip. They did the coin flip before the game. LSU won the coin flip. They're going to be the home team. Great that they get to bat last. Horrible rule, and it should be changed. Now, what LSU has left? Well, more than you might think. But you're going to need some step-up performances because your top 3 are done. And Thatcher Herd's done. And you don't have Little. And that's the big, choose my words, that's the big albatross hanging around LSU's neck from a pitching standpoint, is you don't have Christian Little this weekend at all because of the lat injury. You would be in a much better spot pitching-wise. And you're not in a bad one, but you'd be in a much better spot pitching-wise if Christian Little was available. And he's not. So that automatically hampers you. But when you look through things, just look at today, Griffin Herring is obviously done. Gage Jump is obviously done. Luke Holman, obviously done. Thatcher Herd is done. He threw over 70 pitches. I think it was 75, right, from Hurd in the game today. 73, 52 strikes. My God, have a freaking day, Thatcher Herd. Everyone else you could have. Everyone else you should have. I look at Gavin Guidry. I see 40 pitches. That's a lot. But if you have a lead late and you need an out, you need 2, Gavin Guidry's got to be ready to give you something. Cade Anderson today threw 45 pitches over 2 outings. That's a lot. But if you need a tight lefty-lefty matchup, you might need something from him. Those guys are available, but I think they're available in like a must type situation. Everyone else is good to go. From a starting standpoint, I think you see Javen Coleman. You saw him in the SEC tournament get a spot start, and that's going to be the same thing, right, as Hurd. If he's in the zone, he's going to be really good. The problem for Javen Coleman has been walks. Here, I'll get you the number, but that has been the one-of-one issue for him. The opponent this year is hitting 220 off of Javen Coleman, but he has walked 19 in 24 and 2/3 innings. He got you through those first 2 innings against South Carolina in the SEC tournament. He was great. Then he started walking guys, and you had to lift him. But I think that's the way you go. He hasn't pitched at all this weekend. He's one of the only guys on the staff that's available that hasn't pitched at all this weekend. I think you see Javen Coleman start for LSU. And then you have Lure. You have Ackenhausen. I guess you could start Ack as well through the 27 pitches, but we'll have to see. Then you have Ackenhausen. You have Ulloa can come back. Dutton, Helmers. Go down the list. I mean, you've Aiden Moffitt. You're going to have guys step up. That's going to be the key. You need guys to step up on the mound, and you need to keep this offensive pressure going if you're LSU. For North Carolina, from a starting standpoint, that's going to be really interesting. And they're kind of hamstrung too because Folger Boaz is out for the year. And that was really their fourth starter. Really, he was their number one, and Jason DeCaro, who became their number one, was their fourth starter. But see, now you're without you're without a fourth guy. So they're going to be hamstrung a little bit there too. 1 second, I'm trying to pull it up, and it's just not totally working for me right now. Why is their website so bad? Oh, gosh, come on, folks. All right, let's start with the bullpen because I know who they have available there. There we go. Bullpen, Dalton Pence can come back, obviously. Matthew Mateus can come back, obviously. Poston has not pitched since game number 1. They have him. Those are really some of their top 3 guys out there in the pen, and they've got that going for them tomorrow. They're deeper on the mound than you. They've played one less game. Offense is going to be massive for LSU, and having that last at bat could be massive for LSU. When you look at guys who have started, Olin Johnson has the most starts for a guy that is healthy, and at least I believe he's healthy. Let me actually double check that. When is the last time he's pitched? Let me not just talk right out the side of my mouth on that. His last outing was May 1st. I actually don't know. But he has 6 starts on the year. He's a freshman. He hadn't pitched, obviously, this weekend. So we'll see. If it's not him, it's going to probably be, Ben Peterson has 3 starts. Boston Flannery has 2. If it's not those guys, it's going to be somebody who's starting their first game of the year. So you're in a position now where it's bullpen day. Anything can happen in Game 7. That's what's huge about this, and that's where you're at. But I will be quite honest with you. If I'm comparing bullpens, I give that advantage to North Carolina tomorrow, hands down, because they can bring back Dalton Pence and Matt Mateus and what's Poston's first name? Matt Poston. Like, they can bring those guys back, and if they get something out of a starter, they can really stranglehold you at the end. So LSU has got to have a great offensive outing. That's where Cameron Padgett was so big tonight for North Carolina. That's kind of what I've got for you there on a preview. Y'all have any questions before we wrap this up for tonight? Let's see. Let me get back live on here. Pull up the chat. Questions. Nolatex, you could maybe see Ackenhausen start, but I think they go with Coleman just because he hasn't. LSU 4-3-2-1. What about batting lineup changes? That's gonna be interesting. This is what I would do if I were Jay Johnson. And I see Reed Rule, Neal or Milazzo. This is what I would do if I were Jay Johnson, right here. I would run it back the exact same way you did it tonight. I would catch Neal to start, have Travinsky DH. And then if you are in a close game late, if you have a chance to win it, I would sub in Milazzo as a defensive replacement. That is what I would do. Brady Neal gives you another left-handed bat in the lineup, and he's hitting the ball well. Milazzo is obviously a better defensive option than Brady Neal. So if I want the bat in there early, because I think offense is going to be so important for this team, and believe me, I'm not sitting here telling you Milazzo hasn't been good offensively down the stretch. He's been very good. He's been very clutch for you. Sambo, I know, Neal gave up 2 runs. I get it. But he was also a huge catalyst for you offensively today. So that's why I do that, and I have Milazzo at the ready for a defensive replacement, much like they have done with Ashton Larson and Paxton Clean. Like that is the route I go with it from an offensive standpoint. There, if it's me, we'll see what they do. We will see what they do, but it's going to be very interesting. So, just massive. Another tip of the hat to Thatcher Herd. Awesome. He was so good. That was awesome to see, man. I loved that from Thatcher Herd. Daniel Tiger 2 wants to know, could Jump give an inning or two in a high leverage spot? I don't think so. Gage jumped through 100 pitches. And I mean, maybe if it's win or go home, your season's on the line, sure. I don't know if that's a spot they really want to go. His arm's going to be fine. I mean, he's had the surgery. He's good. But the future's still very important for him. I don't know if Jay would do that. But win or go home spot, yeah, you could see it. But I don't think that's their first option. They're going to want some of these other guys to step up and get that done. So, we'll see. Wade Reeves, any word on Milam foot issue? I came right in here to do the show, so I haven't listened to Jay's post game or anything of that nature, so I can't tell you. I'm not on Twitter at the current moment either, so I can't tell you. And Derek, that's a great point. They did not use Skeens in that type of situation in the World Series. So, yeah, I doubt. Sambo, yes, DJ Primo did make the trip, and I believe he is on the active roster. But, again, that's been a lefty-lefty type matchup thing. But, yes, you could see that. So, I would tell you that Jump's burnt, Holman's burnt, Herring's obviously burnt, and so obviously it's Thatcher Herd. So, just, Fire 3449 is Shores on the roster. He's not ready from Tommy John. Like, y'all have to purge that. You have to purge that from your thinking. Chase Shores is not pitching this year. It's done. That's done. So, he's just not. So you move on from that. All right. That's what we've got, y'all, tonight. Great win for LSU. They were awesome. And they got a chance tomorrow. It's going to be an uphill battle. No doubt about it. Like, it's going to be an uphill battle for LSU. North Carolina has the bullpen advantage for sure. And you're going to need to keep the offense going. That was always going to be what made this sustainable, because you were going to pitch well enough to win. You've done that, and the offense responded. Can they keep that up? So, you're 27 outs away from playing a home super regional. Anybody think they'd be there 24 hours ago? No. You damn sure didn't think they'd be there when they were 3-12 in conference play. But they haven't quit. They've coached them up well, and they're 27 outs away. Now they have to go play. Do I feel great about it? I'll be honest, no. But it's Game 7, and anything can happen. Guys have stepped up already today. Griffin Herring again, Thatcher Herd, Kate Anderson. You're starting to see those guys step up. Just can they continue to do it? Y'all smash the like button here one more time. Get subscribed to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Get subscribed up on your favorite podcast app if you haven't already. Keep us locked and loaded. You know, we got you covered throughout the rest of this. Next time on Musso at the Box.